Hey everyone, it's C-Wire back with the C-Wire Nation. Hope you're all doing good today. Back with another video. And what are we going to be talking about today? Well, what's been going on in the news? The buildup at the border. We got some Marines down there. I think close to 1,000 Marines, and I think they're sending the Army 10th Mountain Division down there. May already be down there. And if you guys haven't been paying attention, some of the biggest news is they are now greenlit to send seventh group in there. Green Berets will be going down into Mexico to work and train alongside the Mexican Marines and train them up and get them ready. Now, before I continue on, if this is your first time to this channel, please give me a like and subscribe, as your support greatly helps the channel and future content. Let's get those numbers up to 1,000. So share this video out to your friends and post it all over Facebook, my friend. Have at it. So, back to what I was saying. What does this mean? Does this mean we're going to go into a large-scale conflict with Mexico? No. As some of you may not be aware, Mexico is a sovereign nation, also happens to be a border country with the U.S. We can't just march conventional forces right up over that border and start doing crazy shit without the consent of the Mexican government. Now, in the case of the special forces, the Mexican Congress did give authorization to allow special forces to come in and train up and advise the Mexican Marines, who is their elite group. And from my understanding, from what I've read, aren't really touched by the corruption of the cartels. So we're going to see how this plays out. I have a few worries about this. Obviously, yes, we need to stop the movement of drugs and narcotics across the border, i.e. fentanyl. That's bad stuff. I could tell you I've dealt with that firsthand after getting off active duty. If you haven't seen my one of my first videos, I was EMT for a while. So dealing with overdoses, heroin overdoses with the fentanyl it was messy business. It was really bad. Finding a lot of people, their family members found them tits up, dead as a doornail in their room, the needle and the spoon next to them, and there's nothing we can do about it. So this is an epidemic. We definitely need to get this stopped. And obviously, there's the human trafficking element of the cartels as well. They are involved in that, trafficking people across the border, people into sex slavery. So there's a lot of components that are going on with this that are going to make, that this needs to be done. So the question is, well, what about the conventional forces deployed along the U.S. border? Well, obviously, that's a show of force and deterrent to keep people from coming across. I mean, if you're a smart individual, you're probably not going to want to tangle with Marines on the border or the Army 10th Mountain. I mean, they're not sending down Joe Schmoes down there. They're sending down conventional infantry units, active infantry units with a lot of training and firepower. So we're going to see how this plays out. I'm sure they have strict ROEs. And I believe I did hear something on that. From what I understand, what came down from the SecDef was if the Marines or the soldiers are fired upon from the other side, they are authorized to return fire. I believe that's what it is. I'm sure those REs are changing every day, and they're probably getting briefs on that. So, but back to what this means for the U.S. Does this mean we're going to get involved in another large-scale conflict? No. I think this is going to be a nickel and dime effort. It's basically going to be a lot of disruption operations, disrupting the flow of narcotics and human trafficking coming across the border. Obviously, with the border now being closed, that takes care of a lot of that, them sneaking over. Obviously, they're going to look for other avenues. You got to keep in mind, these cartel dudes, they've been doing this shit for a long time. So if you don't think that they don't have other networks and other avenues of approach that they can exploit to get things in here, yeah, they're going to try to do that. And that's where the Coast Guard's going to come into play, and a few other agencies, shoring all that stuff up to keep them from coming in. And some of you may not know, but the Coast Guard has extensive experience in battling the cartels and stuff, and drug seizure operations, because they have, obviously they patrol the coast, and so yeah, they're going to be taking care of a lot of that. So It's going to be a lot of hole plugging to keep them out. Now that brings us to the other slice of this pie. Make no mistake about it, there are cartel here in the United States. Who do you think runs the drug trade up here? All the low level dealers that you see on the street getting picked up by law enforcement, those are not the main guys. All they are is the soldiers. They're cannon fodder. They're expendable. Here, just go out there and sell this shit. The cartels are running the whole show. And they have people up here, and I would probably, if I had to take a guess, through all the years, with the way that the border was, it's probably well over 100,000 cartel up here operating, making sure that the money's moving and all this stuff. And because they have a network, I mean, they make well over $1 billion a year. Trust me, they're well funded. They got their ears to the ground. They know what's coming and going. They know what's going to. So trust me. Just like we're watching them, they're watching us. And considering that they are up here, this could get really messy, considering that they are on U.S. soil, especially that they're embedded down in these cities. And you got the ICE raids happening, kicking people out. You could see things start to escalate on that end, get a little bloody with shootouts because they don't want people fucking with their money. So that's where we're at with that. The other thing I want to hit upon is, which kind of goes in conjunction with this, with the buildup of forces onto the border, is the current state of the military. I think if you're watching this channel, you're in the military or know people in the military, you probably noticed now, since Afghanistan is done and over with, the military has started downsizing, rolling back a lot of units, especially along the Marine Corps side of the house. I did a video not too long ago explaining why now is probably not the good time to go into the Marine Corps because of slow promotions and that they're shrinking the size of the force. And Army might be a better option. There's a video for that. You can go check that out. Here's the thing. Unfortunately, our country is not very good with learning from history. We have a habit of repeating mistakes that happened over and over. World War One, our military was one of the smallest in the world, basically a police force. We weren't really geared for combat, not looking for it. And then we got thrust into it. But of course, the American war machine kicked up and we sent all those troops over into France to fight in World War One. We got things going. But what happened right after that? They shrunk it back down again and kicked all those dudes out. They were probably thinking, we're not going to need this anymore. This is over. Only to realize 20 years later, what happens? World War II kicks off. Japan attacks on December 7th, 1941. And now we find ourselves in the same position we are again. So now it's like, oh shit, we got to build this back up. So they start ramping up recruiting. Obviously, the patriotism of the people during that time period, which is why they're called the greatest generation, were just flooding recruitment centers, wanting to sign up, lying about, doing whatever they had to do to get in. They didn't get it. They said what they had to say. And obviously, with our industrial might that we had, we're able to turn a factory's making refrigerators one day, the next day, M250 cows are rolling off the assembly line. I mean, that's pretty much how it was. So, we had that going for us. But what happened? World War II ends. The Army Marine Corps gut their forces. They shrink them down, start sending people home, deactivating. We're probably not going to need this. And then, then you hit Korea. What happens? Same thing again. The Army found itself not in very good shape to deal with that. So they had to try to bolster their numbers to get things beefed up again. And then, of course, the debacle of Vietnam happens. In Korea, and the events of Korea and World War I are really like the prelude to Vietnam. You should really go do some research into that. I would recommend really researching the Paris peace talks for the ceasefire of World War I of 1919. The Treaty of Versailles. That, just to give you a quick overview, that treaty and what took place there during the ceasefire, what was agreed upon by what would become the League of Nations, which now the United Nations, is the reason why we're living in the world that we have today. Everything going on geopolitically in the world now all traces back to what happened Paris 1919 during the Treaty of Versailles. And that includes Vietnam. That the groundwork was being laid, just nobody fucking knew it. So now we fast forward to now, global war on terror, about 20 years locked into that. That's over. Marine Corps got rid of its sniper program, which makes no fucking sense to me. considering that the Marines pride themselves on marksmanship and Marine snipers were some of the best. And why would you get rid of that? They got rid of their armor, their tanks. I kind of understand why they did that, considering that the way they're repositioning the force to be more agile and quick to deploy, since they are amphibious and they have other vehicles now that have capabilities that kind of fill that role and able to get onto the objectives faster than waiting for heavy tanks to come on. So that part I understand. But what I don't understand is why they got rid of their snipers and dismantled all that, shrunk the size of their infantry battalions, even cut some infantry battalions. None of this makes sense. And I think now they're actually looking to get rid of MARSOC, which is Marine Special Operations Commands, also affectionately known as the Marine Raiders. Very similar to the Green Berets and how they operate. This was something the Marine Corps was told to stand up when I was early in my Marine Corps career. My first list was like 2005, 2006 timeframe. They started standing them up. It was the first time the Marine Corps ever had a special operations unit, because before then they never had one, because all Marines were considered special operations capable, and we had recon and force recon. But anyway, they're looking to slash that and get rid of that. I guarantee if they do that, this will be a thing later on. Something's going to happen. And be like, oh, hey, we're going to need that back. We're going to fucking need that. Yeah. So this has been going on every time. We keep repeating this same stupid shit. Personally, I think it would just be best, like, all right, look, we have the forces built up. We have the equipment. Let's keep it. It's always better to have and not need than to need and not have. You never want to find yourself on the back foot. And so we always seem to find ourselves on the back foot, and then we got to scramble. Now, we've been doing this for a long time, so we've gotten kind of pretty good at scrambling and getting things built up. But the problem is, after these conflicts, a lot of the guys like myself with the combat experience, we're out. There's probably not very many of us that has stayed in their full 20 plus years, being around in Iraq or Afghanistan, that are going to pass that experience on to these new cats coming in. So it's going to be a whole new group of people having to gain this experience. And it was no different, through conflicts of the past. And when I came in, we were all getting that experience and passing that experience down once we got it. But it always helps to have those with experience lingering around. Makes training a lot easier, in my opinion. But, we're going to see what's going to happen. What say you? Meet me down in the comments and tell me what you think. But yeah, we're living in interesting times. President Trump's not fucking around. He's getting a lot accomplished. And I don't think we're even a month into his presidency yet, and we're getting a lot of things accomplished. Pete Hegseth's doing a great job as Secretary of Defense, getting all the wokeness out of the military, which I'm very happy about. I saw this going on, starting to trickle when I was in a long time ago. We're talking 2009, 2010-ish. We started to see the beginnings of this woke ideology creeping into the military. And to the Marine Corps' credit, they did their best to really push back on that. But in the end, what happens is you start putting a lot of woke people in positions, and then that's when the floodgates open, which is why the military has been kind of shit for the past 10, 12 years or so. It's not been good, but now, they're getting rid of a lot of that leadership and saying, no, that's not how this fucking game is played. The military is not to be a social experiment. This is not what we do. We fight our nation's battles and destroy the enemy, foreign and domestic. This is what we fucking do. This is our job. This isn't a fucking woke club. So that's good. So I'm happy to see that the military is returning to its luster and being a respected force across the world and not a fucking laughing stock. Because make no mistake, during those years we had Obama, and had to deal with fucking Biden's bullshit, while they're forcing the Army, and they're always like, oh yeah, we're going to do gender reaffirming care and grant sex changes while on active duty. While we're doing that, making an ass out of ourselves, you know what our enemies have been doing? Training hard and laughing at us. Well, now things are going back to the way they're supposed to be. So if I were them, I wouldn't be laughing for much, because we're kicking things into high gear and getting shit straightened out. Like I said, give me your comments down below. What say you? But anyway, I'm going to catch you on the next video. Everyone stay safe out there. This is C-Wire, Pop and Smoke.